Hello and welcome to Northern Nightmares, your home for nightmarish tales throughout Canada and beyond. I'm your host Andrew, and this week we continue our story about Satanism, as this is the final part. For this part, we'll be focusing on where Satanism is today. Is it still around, or did it fizzle out as just another fad? Well, for this story, it continued and still strives today. We'll be focusing on the many temples continuing to pop up throughout the world, and I also bring you one of the biggest incidents in Ottawa where a temple arose in its own neighborhood. So let's dive into this final part and finish up the exploration of the Satanic religion. In the United States, there are 30 congregations of the Satanic Temple throughout the country. There's a branch in Germany, Finland, and also one for Belgium, the Netherlands, and Luxembourg, called the Benelux chapter. Here in Canada, we have a total of 5 of these locations in British Columbia, Alberta, Ottawa, Toronto, and the Atlantic provinces. I would love to be a member for the Atlantic branch. The headquarters for the temple is in Salem, Massachusetts, and is probably, in my opinion, the most popular location. Here you can find a giant statue of Baphomet, where many have taken photos with it. As of today, it's reported the temple has tens of thousands of members worldwide within the organization. It's also official that the temple does not worship Satan. Satan is just an idea. I quote this from their website's FAQ. Satan to us represents the unfettered pursuit of knowledge, personal liberation, rebellion against arbitrary authority. Their version of Satan, from what I interpreted, is of fiction. As quoted again from the same FAQ, it is not the evil being of the Abrahamic mythology or Hollywood fantasy. Similarly, we do not believe in or promote symbolic evil. We believe that things that cause unnecessary suffering are bad, and that things that aggravate suffering are good. If one were to go through the rest of the FAQ, you would find a lot of interesting and helpful things. The main mission is to create a safe space for like-minded individuals, a place for spiritual growth. Yes, you could call it a new age way of life, but if it helps bring some peace and happiness to your life, become a member. Taken from the FAQ again, the temple is not a political organization, a parody/trolling religion, or a catch-all activist group for every progressive cause. The temple encourages people that are passionate about their beliefs to pursue them. However, if those passions don't align with their tenets or mission statements, it is asked not to be brought to the temple. The mission statement states the following: our goals are to serve the religion and spiritual needs of our members, promote satanic religious education with our congregation, disseminate our religious beliefs, perform rituals, observe and celebrate the Satanic Temple's Satanic holidays, honor the Satanic Temple's religious sacraments, be a force for positive change within our community, and provide a safe and welcoming community of diverse and engaged Satanists. The temple also has 7 tenets that are as follow, and I quote: 1 should strive to act with compassion and empathy towards all creatures in accordance with reason. The struggle for justice is ongoing and necessary pursuit that would prevail over laws and institutions. One's body is inviolable, subject to one's own will alone. The freedoms of others should be respected, including the freedom to offend, to willfully and unjustly encroach upon the freedoms of another is to forego one's own. Beliefs should conform to our best scientific understanding of the world. We should take care never to distort scientific facts to fit our beliefs. People are fallible. If we make a mistake, we should do our best to rectify it and remedy any harm that may have been caused. Every tenet is a guiding principle designed to inspire nobility in action and thought. The spirit of compassion, wisdom, and justice should always prevail over the written or spoken word. Anyone can become a member. However, an interview is necessary, as not everyone would be approved. Only people who seem a good fit for the chapter are allowed to join. There are also 6 levels within the organization, the first being a registered member and doesn't have a degree. The first degree is considered an active member, and one could in theory work up in the degrees. The highest is the 5th degree with the title of Maga or Magus, which is just a fancy title for wizard or witch. You're probably also asking yourself, all this sounds very different than when Anton ran things. That's because this is a different organization from Anton's. If you remember, I've been talking about the Satanic Church the past 2 parts, but for this part I've been saying temple. That's because there are 2 satanic organizations, the Satanic Church and the Satanic Temple. The temple of today stepped away from the supernatural element that the church had originally supported. The church still is around, but is considered by the temple inactive, unlike them. Both are the same for the most part, but there is a notable differences between the 2. For one example, the Church of Satan requires $250 in US to become a member, whereas the temple costs nothing. The temple just believes in making a safe space for everyone that fits their organization. They also have no time for bigotry, racism, misogyny, transphobia, etc. When Anton passed in October of 1997, the future of the religion's goals were unknown. It still has a new current leader, but there's not much happening within the organization. The temple, though, is where our story continues because it's the organization that's currently running things. For this part, though, we're going to jump to 2013, when the new era of Satanism had begun and started everything I just mentioned. So let's head to Oklahoma when all this began. So in December of 2013, the Satanic Temple decided to erect a statue of Baphomet on the grounds of the Capitol building in Oklahoma City. This was to challenge the recent 10 Commandments statue recently placed in the same area. The Commandments monument was privately commissioned by Mike Ritz, a Republican politician representing the state. However, this was shortly after when the Capitol ruled that religious monuments may not be paid with public tax dollars, and the state was forbidden to endorse a specific religion. The Satanic Temple noticed this and acted on their own and decided to build up their own statue. The temple felt like, if the Christians can have this, so can the Satanic Temple. The money for the statue was raised to $28,000 when it was crowdfunded. This basically started a back and forth battle of who can place what on public grounds. This went on for many years and mostly in the courtrooms. It also sparked the same battles in other states that erected the same 10 Commandments on Capitol grounds. The Satanic Temple fought back with their own statutes. These other states included Arkansas, Florida, and Iowa. Obviously, this was just a pissing contest between the 2, and it didn't really end up going anywhere for the Christians. With the church fighting for their rights to be acknowledged, it wouldn't be until 2019 that Satanism finally got deemed an official religion in the US. Coming back to Canada, it wasn't until halfway into 2019 that a temple arose in Ottawa. Nicholas Mark was recently a retired soldier from the Canadian military a few years prior, and after serving his duty, Mark was starting to look for a new purpose in his life. What started would be the building of his Satanic Temple and official status in 2019. It started with only a few people meeting up at the Coven, a heavy metal bar in the downtown area. It was decorated with skulls, spikes, and many depictions of hell. The temple has many weekly and bi-weekly meetings, with numbers now close to 100. Mark claims that many different people show up. You have the typical goths, emos, metalheads, etc. that love everything black, and you also have just your average looking people between the ages of 18 and 80 years old, but the most common age is between the 30s and 40s. They look to Satan like an eternal rebel within them. A lot of the founding members said that they were Catholic raised, but since finding Satanism, they feel more comfortable with the practice. Mark says he views his group as a rebellion for the great good community. As of the opening of his temple, it started a chain reaction. It opened other chapters, as I had previously mentioned. Calgary was the next big province that opened their doors to the cause. Now, just like the States, these chapters have their own battles from members of the Christian and Catholic Church. However, here in Canada, things like this opening tends to be a little more lax. The members of the U.S. are proud of their beliefs, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that some people believe that everyone should feel the same. In Canada, we just complain for a while and then move on. Go to Tim's, grab a double-double, and fight over hockey. Like I said earlier, the temple has a few chapters throughout Canada. For me, it would be the Atlantic region, which includes New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, Nova Scotia, and Newfoundland. I myself am a little interested in looking into memberships, as I'm fascinated that we have it here, and I'm quite curious of what's involved. And that's kind of, generally where Satanism is today. There's many temples that anyone can join. They have ongoing fundraisers that they do with their communities, and more so they just want to be like I said, a positive space for new members, people that maybe don't fit the social norm, that need a place to feel accepted. Well, Satanism is that spot for anybody that feels like that. I'm cutting this episode a little shorter than usual, though, mostly because I wanted to end this part on a good note. There's so much that involves Satanism, especially today, but I wanted to incorporate them in later stories. A future story would be like if I dive deep into the sex trafficking world, pedo rings, and the Epstein world itself, where Satanism has been used as cover-ups, as I had mentioned that before in the last part. But looking forward into the next couple weeks, I have a lot of new exciting stories. Like in a couple weeks from today, we'll be starting another big series, which I will tease you with the theme, as it's going to be focusing on UFOs. However, though, for next week, I have a good old serial killer story that I'm sure you're going to really like. This case takes us all the way to Ontario, and our unfortunate victims in this story will be the elderly. So I'll see you soon. Good night, and remember, nightmares are closer than you think.